Why is this the right act of philanthropy for you?
Well, our foundation has been focused on children since the beginning. And when this Invest America Act was passed earlier this year, we saw it as a platform for companies and families and communities and philanthropists to contribute to these accounts. And as you probably know, the government is giving $1,000 to every newborn in an account that will essentially go in the S&P 500 and compound over time. And when the child's 18, it becomes like an IRA. It can be used for education, to start a business, to start a family, for continued savings, to buy a home. And so what Susan and I wanted to do was help out some of the kids that weren't included in the government program. And so the kids that are 10 and under, that live in zip codes where the median income is $150,000 or less, that aren't in the government program, so think ages 2 to 10, we're going to give 25 million of those children $250 each in their account. And we hope that, this, inspires them and gives them hope and opportunity and prosperity. I've spoken with a number of other philanthropists. I believe you'll see some other significant gifts, and we know many companies are going to match the government's contribution, as Dell Technologies is certainly doing, and a number of companies have already announced. So we're super excited about what this can become over time as these accounts grow to be something significant.
Tell us about that. Tell us about how you are calling on companies like you to match what many are calling the Trump accounts, but also will those match what you're now doing for 2 to 10-year-olds, maybe 10-year-olds and above? Have you fielded many calls?
Well, we just announced this morning. I did speak with a number of philanthropists in the weeks leading up to our announcement. And, well, I won't speak for them. We'll let them make their own announcements. And they could be designed in a different way. I think you'll see some people adopting particular states or, particular communities. And in fact, we started with the idea of doing this only in the state of Texas, but then we decided to do it nationally. So there can be many varieties and alternatives here, but we do think that this will be catalytic, and that more philanthropists and companies will join us over time. And again, this is a platform for the future of these children.
Is it a platform for more giving from philanthropies or from billionaires such as yourself via government? It's extraordinary sort of turn of events that here you working directly with the Treasury, Michael. We've also seen Timothy Mellon at one point offering to help cover the costs of US troops during the government shutdown. Will more people be pushed and think it's right to work through the federal government?
Well, I would say we're not working through the federal government. we are giving $250 directly to 25 million children.
And this is being executed. I think we've just had a technology issue there. But Michael, this is being executed by the Treasury. When you think about how the process has been, you hope that it's, I understand, going to be seamless, going to be processes, going to be swift. How quickly do you think it'll be in the hands of those children? And indeed, will it be in alignment with the Trump accounts, so July of next year?
Yeah, so on July 4th, or I think 5th, actually, because the 4th is a holiday, of next year, every parent will be able to claim the account for their child that's 18 and under. And originally, those accounts will be held in custody by a custody bank, and then eventually you'll be able to choose your bank or your brokerage that holds the account for you, and it's the property of the child.
What banks, what asset managers have you been talking to? How do you think, from an infrastructure perspective, this would work, Michael?
Right. I have not been having the conversations with the banks. Actually, a number of them have told me that they're interested in being the banks to hold these accounts. I think it'll be, all the major banks, and, the parents will be able to choose whichever their favorite bank or stock brokerage is.
What's so interesting is this has bipartisan support, as we understand, from letters being written just yesterday, asking Cory Booker as well as Ted Cruz, asking those to come alongside you for corporates to invest alongside.
That's right. I spoke with Senator Booker last night about this. I spoke with Senator Cruz about this earlier today. And there is completely bipartisan support for this idea. It's not a political initiative. This is about investing in children, and we think that's the smartest investment that we can make.
Michael, why do you think it wasn't picked up earlier than this? Since 2021, shout out to Brad Gerstner, is almost his idea, this initiative. Why did it take this administration this time?
Well, it's a great question. Brad did tell me about this in 2021. We talked to the prior administration about it. I think it's hard to get legislative action like this done, but now it's the law. And so here we are. And so we have a great opportunity for the future to build on this platform.
You really have been focused on education and on kids, Michael, in your philanthropic work. You're also a man very focused on the world of artificial intelligence. What's life going to be like for these kids going forward, do you think? How much will they be allocating their money? How much will they be allocating their time? What does a work week look like, do you think?
Well, it could be lots of debates about that. What I would say is that I would encourage kids and parents and educators to focus on the critical thinking skills and being able to analyze problems without the assistance of technology, but also use technology as a resource and as a tool. At the heart of this debate really is, as we get new and better tools, are we doing more work and solving more problems, and discovering new science and progressing further in the world, growing the economy? Or are we doing the same amount of work with just fewer people because we have the tools? You could put me down for economic growth and prosperity as a result of these tools. Certainly there will be challenges and dislocations, and retraining is certainly required. But from what I'm seeing, I think this is largely going to result in some really great outcomes. But again, it's not guaranteed success because of new technology.
That dislocation, Michael, whose responsibility is that? Is that big tech's responsibility to retrain, to reskill, to help at least pay for it? Is it government's responsibility, education?
I think it's a collective responsibility that we all have. I think every company has to reskill its workforce. I think the education system has to adapt and build the new skills and capabilities. And, there's a role for all of us to play in that.
And excuse me for this pivot, Michael, but of course, many want to understand, of course, the focus on infrastructure from a money perspective here to kids. There's also the focus on the fact that stocks have to go up and to the right in the longer term for this to benefit those children. What do you think about a concern about an AI bubble? Are this really reaping rewards from a productivity perspective, or are we in some sort of bubble or circular finance concern for you?
Certainly markets do fluctuate, and you know that well on Bloomberg because you report about it every single day. Long term, we think investing these accounts in the S&P 500 is a very good way to compound over time for these children. When I look at what's going on today in the enormous build out in AI, what I see is a lot more demand than supply for the ingredients. And certainly, in our business and many of the companies in this enormous build out, business is very good because there's enormous demand for what these models are creating, which effectively is intelligence. And if you now have a tool that causes everyone in your company to have 15 more IQ points in their daily work, well, that's something you probably want as much as you can get. And so there's enormous demand here. I think next year we'll be in a situation very likely where the demand exceeds the supply. in many of the critical ingredients that go into the most advanced systems that we're building.